the millionaire, the homeless black man, and the Elon Musk and Donald Trump tale. Michael Adams was a man who had it all, or so the city said. Towering skyscrapers, luxury cars, and a life packed with endless meetings and high-stakes deals. The pulse of the city never slowed for him. Money whispered power in his ear every morning. But beneath the sharp suits and confident smiles, Michael's world felt like a blur, rushing too fast to catch a breath. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. In the middle of the city's busiest park, where businessmen lounged with their laptops and kids chased pigeons, Michael noticed her. A homeless black woman with eyes fierce as a storm and hands that trembled, not from cold, but something deeper. Pain, maybe, or lost dreams. Her name was Grace. Rumors swirled fast and wild about her. Once a piano prodigy, they said, playing on grand stages, before life yanked her into the streets. Some whispered she'd crossed paths with the very elite. Mika, Michael's son, Lucas, had never played piano, but Grace's fingers, though rough, danced in the air when she spoke. She offered to teach Lucas. It sounded crazy, impossible. But under the soft canopy of an old oak tree, Grace guided the boy's hands over invisible keys, her voice steady and kind. Lucas changed. Every lesson made his fingers firmer, his music clearer. The pure, haunting melodies felt like something urgent, a message breaking through the noise. As Michael watched, a strange knot tightened in his chest. He dug deeper. Grace's story wasn't just about her. It tangled with his own family history. An old scandal, darker than anyone whispered at gala dinners. Secrets Michael had fought buried. Now they threatened to unravel everything he'd built. His reputation, his wealth, even his sense of who he was. The Elon Musk and Donald Trump gossip columns might as well have been quiet compared to the storm brewing within his own life. At dinner parties, whispers began. Eyes darted when Grace's name was mentioned. Are you sure, Michael? People like her don't belong in your world. The words stung, choking him in tight doubt and sudden shame. And yet, hearing Lucas's music bloom through Grace's teaching sparked something raw, a glimpse of hope, a value beyond wealth and status. For Grace, it was a false freedom. Each note she played fought against the cold judgment of the streets and the memories of her estranged family. A family she longed to mend, but who might never forgive her fall from grace. Every day was a battle, to be seen for her talent, not her scars. Then, just when the melody seemed to lift them both up, an unexpected shad, a figure that didn't belong in their fragile new world, watching Lucas play, silent and heavy. Something about the way he moved, the cold calculation in his eyes, it was like a warning. Could Michael and Grace bridge the gap between their worlds? Could Lucas's music be the key to something bigger? Or would the weight of the past crush their dreams before they took flight? The park fell quietly as Lucas played a haunting melody. The notes hanging in the air like whispered secrets, and the figure from afar didn't blink. What was coming next? Who was watching? And could anything escape the past's long shadow? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The park fell quietly as Lucas played a haunting melody, the notes hanging in the air like whispered secrets. And the figure from afar didn't blink. A chill swept through Michael's heart. It felt like ice wrapping around his chest. Fear rippled, threading its way through each person in the park, a shared breath held tight. Suddenly, with a flash, the figure stepped out from the shadows. He was tall, with a face lined by experience and secrets. People gasped, turning as the realization hit. A former music mogul turned ruthless businessman. They had all heard the stories about him, how he crushed dreams like brittle glass beneath his powerful heel. "Michael Adams," the man barked, his voice like gravel. "You want to play in this little fantasy with the homeless? You think you can hide your family's history from me?" The shock sent tremors through the crowd. Michael's breath caught in his throat. Who was this man? And why was he sounding like he held every dark secret in his hand? Grace froze, her face ghostly pale. Lucas stopped playing, the last note trembling, dying in the air. Laughter rang out from a couple of bystanders. "Look at this. The millionaire, the boy and the street performer. What a sight," they whispered, eager to see drama unfold. "Who are you?" Michael found his voice, but it felt weak and small in the midst of the chaos. "I'm the one who knows everything," he replied, stepping closer. "You've been hiding her, haven't you?" A finger jabbed toward Grace, igniting disbelief and outrage. "You thought she could teach your son and nobody would take notice? This city thrives on secrets, and I'm here to spill them." The air grew thick with tension. Michael's mind raced. What had Grace done to attract this monster? And why did it feel like pieces of a puzzle slipping into place? Grace's past and his own family's shadows were entwined. "There's more, Michael." The man leaned in closer, his breath a foul reminder of broken dreams. "You think you're beyond reprisal, but her story, it can unravel you. Your grandfather, your father, their deals weren't just business. They were built on the backs of people just like her." Michael's heart raced. He searched Grace's wide, terrified eyes and saw something familiar. Recognition of the past they had both tried to escape. Could it be? Did she know? "Enough!" Grace shouted, her voice stronger than the storm in her eyes. "I won't let you turn me into a weapon against him. You've haunted my life long enough." The crowd surged with whispers and startled glances. Michael took a step toward the man, but something in Grace's expression stopped him. And then the unexpected happened. The ground trembled slightly. A low rumble echoed through the park, causing leaves to shake and people to gasp. The shadows of their past, not just memories, but alive, breaking free. "What's happening?" Lucas cried, eyes wide with fear. Then, like a powerful wave crashing onto foggy shores, The figure raised his arm, pointing to the sky. A blast of light erupted right above them, a flash that was both beautiful and terrifying. It surged through the park, illuminating faces twisted in confusion, eyes wide in shock. In that blinding moment, clarity broke through the chaos. Michael and Grace were tied together more than they realized. Shadows of their past entwined, and the true nature of everything was about to unravel. As the light faded, silence fell hard. Everything around them froze. The audience held their breath. No one knew what was next, but Michael felt it deep in his bones. They had opened a door that couldn't be closed. What had been awakened? Who else had watched? The heartbeat of the city trembled with anxious uncertainty. Lucas's fingers danced over invisible keys, the haunting melody rising through the still air. Michael watched, frozen, his heart beating in his throat. The park felt alive, yet the shadow at the edge tightened his chest. For a moment, nothing else existed but the music. Then an abrupt burst fractured the fragile spell. A sharp crack pierced the atmosphere. A gunshot. The world froze, then erupted into chaos. People gasped, shrieked, and fled in every direction. Michael's instincts kicked in. He scrambled, ripping his eyes from Lucas to scan the area. The figure he'd seen, lurking like an omen, hurried forward. But the tension felt different now. Thickened, charged. It wasn't just an observer. Something darker stirred in him. "Lucas, get down!" Michael shouted, lunging toward his son. The sound of fear echoed around them, branches shaking as bodies stumbled over one another. Grace's eyes widened, a mixture of fear and fierce determination flaring in her gaze. She moved, instinctively stepping in front of Lucas, hands raised. "No! Stay close!" The tremor in her voice said it all. She was just as terrified, but a fierce protectiveness surged through her. Michael felt the knot in his stomach turn to lead. What was happening? Who was that man? But the chaos spun round him, leaving no room for clarity. He sprinted, arms outstretched, desperately reaching for Lucas and Grace, his heart pounding like a war drum. Suddenly, amidst the frenzy, the shadowy figure spoke, his voice cold, slicing through the nightmare. "You think you can erase the past, Michael? You can't outrun it." Michael froze. Those words, they struck too close to home. But before he could process, the figure pointed, not at him, but at Grace. The crowd erupted again, screams echoing off the surrounding buildings. "Her! She's the reason you're here, in this mess!" Shock rippled through Michael. He glanced at Grace, who held her ground, confusion and rage battling in her eyes. "What? What do you mean?" But the man wasn't finished. "You don't know who she really is, do you? She's not just a homeless woman. She's connected to your family, your mother's biggest scandal, a betrayal nobody could forget." The revelation hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The crowd fell into a hushed murmur, eyes darting between Michael and Grace. Whispers of disbelief pierced the tension, voices rising. Is that true? How could he not know? What kind of connection? Michael's heart raced, the lifeblood draining from his face. Grace, a connection to his family? Could it be real? For an instant, everything shifted. The safe world he built was crumbling like sand underwater. And what about Lucas? Grace shot back, fists clenched. What does he have to do with any of this? The fierceness in her words cut through the disarray, a shield against the onslaught. But the man smirked, a gleeful malice in his features. Let's just say, secrets have a way of coming back to haunt you, Michael. And so do people. Without warning, he lunged, rushing towards them. The air thickened with dread. Michael's mind raced. How could all this be possible? What kind of nightmarish turn had just ripped through their lives? And then it happened. A flash of light, the crack of thunder, as another shot rang out. Silence crashed down. All eyes on the man as he staggered, a stunned expression painting his face. Blood blossomed against his shirt. Michael stood frozen, heart in his throat, trying to process the scene. Who had shot him? What did this mean for them all now? Time stretched, the melody of the piano fading into the chaotic backdrop of screams and shouts. The park, once a sanctuary, had become a battleground, and the truth that had just begun to surface loomed like a storm cloud over their heads. What truths lay buried deep, and would they ever emerge? The shadows of the past were creeping closer, ready to swallow them whole. Michael stood there, frozen, unable to wrap his mind around the sight unfolding before him. The sinister man staggered, blood spilling down his shirt like ink blotting out a page. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that felt heavy with impending dread. But then, a shift, a sudden, tangible shift. The ground beneath their feet trembled again, harder this time, shaking the trees. It wasn't just a tremor. The whole park felt alive, as if it were awakening from slumber. Right there in that moment, Michael caught Grace's eyes. "What? Get back!" she shouted, pushing Lucas behind her, instinctively shielding him. Then chaos erupted. The man fell to his knees, a look of shock etched on his face. But instead of the crowd retreating, something far more sinister unfolded. Shadows began to cascade from the trees as figures emerged, cloaked in darkness. Mysterious shapes that surged forth, drawn by the energy gathering around the fallen man. "Michael!" Grace yelled, her voice cutting through the noise. "We need to leave!" But Michael couldn't move. He felt a magnetic pull from the ground. It was as if the very earth called out to him, whispering secrets long buried. Alarm bells rang in his heart, pounding a frantic rhythm. These weren't just shadows. They were people. Faces Michael recognized, but couldn't quite place. Family members he thought lost. Memories once sealed away. And then a voice pierced through the night, clear and commanding. "Your family's past is not what you think, Michael." It was a woman emerging from the throng, her expression fierce. Her features were familiar. It was the face of his aunt. The one who disappeared years ago. The one whispered about in hushed tones during holiday dinners. "You have to face it. You have to face her." All eyes turned toward Grace. The revelations hung heavy in the air. Was she truly connected to Michael's family? "Wait!" Lucas cried, recognizing the tension. "What's happening? Who are these people?" The figures drew closer, eyes glimmering with secrets and judgment. The man who shot first lay trembling on the ground, blood pooling. But now everyone's attention shifted to Grace. The urgency became palpable, raw, and electric. Mid-movement, a cry erupted. "She's the one!" A nearby voice shouted, breaking through the shock. "She's the one who broke the family, the one who made it all crumble!" Michael's heart raced. Every word cut like shards of glass. He turned to Grace, searching for answers in her stormy eyes. "Is that true? Did you destroy us?" But Grace looked bewildered, like the ground had fallen from beneath her. I didn't. Lies!" Another shadowed figure shouted, stepping closer. "You turned your back on your family! You thought you could escape, but you left us shattered." Suddenly, everything spiraled. A flicker of recognition washed over Michael. The weight of betrayals and guilt hung thick in the air. Images flashed in his mind. Fragments of family gatherings. Laughter turned to whispers. Truths buried beneath lavish displays of wealth. The figures gathered closer, murmurs rising to a crescendo, drowning out reality. "What do you mean?" he shouted above the chaos, searching for clarity in the storm of voices. "Your family's disgrace was tied to her." The woman pointed venomously. "And now you must reckon with it." In that moment, a new understanding crashed upon Michael. Grace wasn't just an outcast. She was a pivotal piece of an ancient puzzle he had barely begun to grasp. And just like that, the adrenaline surged. The crowd was no longer just a mob. They were the guardians of secrets, only buried under layers of denial. Victory hung in the balance. Then another quake rattled the ground, more violent this time, thrumming through Michael's bones. With a crack, the park's path split, jagged and yawning, swallowing the moment whole. "Look!" Lucas screamed, pointing toward the rift that opened between them and the figures that confronted them. And in that very instant, the once familiar faces of his past transformed into something monstrous, something more than just betrayal. Something that could shatter the identity he had built for himself. The shadows all blended together, like a wave crashing against the shore. The truth hung in the air, raw, bitter, waiting to be unearthed. As the ground shook beneath him, Michael knew one thing. They were standing at the edge of a revelation. The call of the past resonating louder than ever. How deep would they go into these wounds? And would they all return from this dark rift? The park fell quietly as Lucas played a haunting melody, the notes hanging in the air like whispered secrets. And the figure from afar didn't blink, nails dug into Michael's palms as he squinted at the shadow. Something felt wrong. The sound of the piano slipped away, almost drowned by the sudden rustle among the crowd. A murmur spread, like wind stirring leaves. Michael turned, faces transformed from casual curiosity to tense watchfulness. Something was about to happen. Then the figure stepped forward, breaking the spell of afternoon light. A man, tall and sharp, dressed in a dark suit that whispered authority. His voice cut through the air, strong and confident. Michael Adams. Heart pounding, Michael felt the eyes of the crowd shift. Faces tilted with interest. Who was this? Fear crept up his spine. The stranger approached, eyes fixed on Lucas, who froze at the sound of his name. "Do you know what you've stumbled into?" the man continued, his gaze piercing through their moment like a blade. "You think music can repair lives?" Grace flinched, stepping protectively in front of Lucas. "We're just—" "Enough!" The man's voice boomed with precision. "Your past is darker than you know, Grace. Do you really think it can stay buried?" Michael felt his chest tighten. What could this man possibly know? All the foundations of his world shook. Lucas's innocent looks turned to confusion, his hands trembling above the fake keys. "Who are you?" Michael demanded, voice trembling. The stranger smirked, a cruel glint in his eyes. "I'm here because I know everything about you, about Grace, and I'm here to expose the truth. You think your money hides secrets? You think it shields you?" A collective gasp echoed in the crowd. Eyes turned wide, whispers flared up like wildfire. "What do you mean?" Michael pressed, panic rising in his throat. The man stepped closer, thick air swelling with tension. "Her family, they didn't just abandon her. They took something. They protected something." He paused, letting the room hold its breath. "They protected you." The words crashed like lightning. The crowd fell silent, the music fading into a haunting echo. Michael's heart raced, pounding against his chest. "That's impossible." "Is it?" the stranger countered, his voice low and deliberate. "You think your success has no roots in the shadows? You think Grace will save you, both of you. You've intertwined those fates without even knowing. All I want is what is owed." For a moment, time hung as terror etched itself into the crowd's faces. Lucas looked from his father to Grace, eyes wide with confusion. "What does he mean?" His voice quivered, innocence trembling against the dark words. "Lucas!" Michael's mind spun, trying to process the implications. Could this be true? Could his past be tied to a woman he barely knew, who had now captured his son's heart? Grace stepped back, her voice breaking. "I didn't know." It was too much. The air felt heavy, suffocating. What tangled web of lies had they walked into? Every note Lucas had played now felt like a warning, like the wind blowing against the storm. "Walk away now," the man warned, his face twisted with a sly grin, "or the truth will swallow you whole." With a single glance, the figure turned and vanished into the crowd, leaving Michael, Grace, and Lucas in a whirlwind of unanswered questions. What would they do next? What secrets lay buried, and how deep did they really go? The melody of the park had shattered, just like their lives. Lucas's fingers glided over the air, every note brimming with innocence and magic. The crowd melted around him, lost in the haunting melody that danced like a whisper through the park. Yet, the figure lurking in the shadows shifted, drawing Michael's attention. A chill crept up his spine. A gnawing sense of unease piled atop the weight of his past, pressing down on him. He glanced at Grace, her body tense, eyes flickering to the figure. Together they shared a silent acknowledgement, a fear that bound them tighter than any thread of hope. The atmosphere thickened, compressed by unspoken truths and hidden histories. Then the figure stepped forward, breaking the moment with a jarring clash of reality. "Michael!" The single word from the stranger cut through the music like glass shattering. Michael's heart raced, the blood rushing to his ears. The voice was heart-wrenchingly familiar. He squinted, the man coming into sharper focus. His expression was a grim reminder of a time he had fought to forget. "David?" Michael breathed, the name barely making it past his lips. The space around them felt explosive, every head turning as whispers ignited. David, Michael's estranged brother, the one who vanished after the family scandal. A ghost returned to haunt him, a shadow of the past resurrected. He had thought David was long gone, buried under the weight of shame. But here he stood, muscles taut and eyes barely betraying his intentions. Watchful, calculating. "You have a lot of nerve showing up here," Michael snapped, angry and scared all at once. David's lips curled in a knowing smirk, something dark resting beneath his calm facade. "I didn't come to fight, brother. I came for something else, something you care about." At that, Lucas's play lost its melody, and the crowd's murmurs morphed into a low hum of confusion. Grace stepped forward, sensing the tension. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with fire. David ignored her, eyes pinned on Michael. "You've touched something you shouldn't have, Michael. That woman," he gestured toward Grace, the disdain palpable. "She's not just a nobody. She's tied to a past that could destroy you, destroy everything you've built." Each word felt like a punch, twisting Michael's stomach. The whispers of the elite and the glances at debt-laden secrets echoed in his mind. Could this be part of Grace's story? The truth was a beast he couldn't face. His heart sank, each beat a drum of dread. "What do you want?" "Your son. He's standing on a ledge he doesn't understand. I merely want to warn you. If he continues with her, he won't just lose his way. He'll lose everything." The fear in Michael's chest coiled tighter. His eyes darted to Lucas. The boy was standing near a stranger in this moment of turmoil, unaware of the dark storm swirling. He felt sick. "You're lying!" Michael shouted, but his voice trembled, uncertainty creeping in. David's smile faded, a flash of sincerity slicing through. "Believe what you want, but don't pretend this world doesn't steal from the innocent." He gestured toward the park, the pigeons still fluttering in chaotic grace. Before the crowd could react, David stepped back, creating a void. "Tick-tock, brother! Time waits for no one!" And with that, like a shadow, he disappeared, leaving behind the faint echo of haunting truths. Silence fell, heavy over the park, the echoes of Lucas's melody still hanging in the air, tinged now with an undercurrent of fear. Michael's heart raced as he turned toward Grace, her face a reflection of confusion and concern. "What just happened?" he whispered, and the question hung there, unanswered. Each note Lucas had played, once a beacon of hope, now loomed like a warning. Their world suddenly spinning as the weight of secrets threatened to crush them all. What networks had David woven in the dark? What would it cost to keep Lucas safe? And as the sun dipped behind the skyline, shadows loomed larger than ever before. The park fell quietly as Lucas played a haunting melody, the notes hanging in the air like whispered secrets. And the figure from afar didn't blink. It was as if the world had paused, every sound muted, every breath held. Grace leaned in closer, her heart pounding. She sensed something off about the man, a coldness that sent a shiver down her spine. Michael's eyes narrowed. Who was he? And why did he stare so intently? Then, without warning, the man took a step closer. The crowd shifted, a ripple of unease spreading as he moved. The air felt heavier. Lucas's fingers faltered on the imaginary keys. The hair on the back of Michael's neck stood up. "Stay back, Lucas," he called, though his own voice felt small against the rising tension. Suddenly, there was a loud shout. "Hey, you! Get away from them!" A passerby bellowed, pointing right at the man. The tension snapped like a thin thread. Gasps echoed through the park. The man stopped, his gaze darting around, revealing a flicker of something akin to fear. But then it twisted. The man's demeanor shifted, and he broke into a wide grin, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You've got the whole city buzzing again, Grace," he said, his voice smooth, almost mocking. "Didn't think I'd see you out here, playing dress-up with the rich. Your little prodigy there, he's quite the find." Michael felt his heart drop into his stomach. Grace's past loomed behind her like a dark cloud. What did this man know? The whispers flared in his mind, darker rumors he'd tried to forget. And what did he mean by dress up? Was their newfound bond a joke? Grace paled. You shouldn't be here," she managed, her hands shaking. "What do you want?" The man stepped forward, his voice smooth as silk but laced with a blade's edge. "Oh, I just wanted to remind you of where you came from. All those secrets you thought you buried, they've got a way of crawling back. You're not the only one who knows." A strangled noise escaped Grace's throat. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Everyone stood frozen, spectators in an unfolding drama they never expected. Stop. And then, from the shadows of the park, another figure emerged. A woman, older but strikingly familiar. Michael squinted. Was that Mom? The words slipped from his lips like smoke. He hadn't heard that voice in years. "Michael," she said, eyes wide, "I thought I told you to stay away from her. We've worked too hard to forget." The shock crashed over him like a wave. He looked back at Grace, whose face reflected a deep, terrifying realization. The stories, the rumors, they were all intertwined. The man smiled wider, triumph glittering in his eyes. "Oh, isn't this splendid? An old family feud colliding with a new scandal. You thought you could build a new life, didn't you, Grace? But the past doesn't forget." Michael's mind raced. Everything he thought he knew was crumbling. What had he uncovered? Who was the real Grace? And what about his own mother? What secrets had she hidden from him? Lucas stared, confused. The echoes of a haunting melody faded into nothing as the air turned electric with anger and heartbreak. Before he could voice another thought, a loud crash sounded from the direction of the park's entrance. A police car, lights flashing, rushed in. "What's going on here?" an officer shouted as everyone turned to see the chaos descending. Questions filled the air, but none answered the deeper truths waiting just beneath the surface. What awaited them now? Would they embrace the storm or run from it? The shadows stretched long, and the park felt both a sanctuary and a battlefield. And in the middle, Lucas stood, caught between the whispers of the past and the uncertain echoes of his future. The tension in the park felt like a thick fog, pressing down on everyone. Eyes darted between Michael, Grace, and the re-emerging figure of David, each gaze laden with unasked questions. As the police car sirens pierced the air, the atmosphere shifted. Whispers turned to gasps, breaths caught in throats, and the heartbeat of the crowd quickened. "Mom!" Lucas cried, his small voice cutting through the growing chaos. His innocent confusion shone through, and Michael's heart sank deeper. But before he could step towards his son, before he could form the words to protect Lucas, the park erupted. With a sudden roar, the ground beneath them cracked wide open. A fissure snaked its way through the asphalt. Swirling with smoke and shadows, the earth seemed to groan, releasing a thunderous echo that swallowed the air. Startled screams escaped from the gathering crowd as people stumbled back, faces twisted in shock. "Run!" someone shouted. The panic spread like wildfire. Michael's instinct told him to shield Lucas, to pull Grace close. But before he could reach for either, a figure emerged from the gaping crack, laboring through tendrils of smoke. The entity loomed larger than life, shrouded in shadows that flickered like flames. A haunting melody flowed through the air, echoing Lucas's earlier notes, but twisted into something dark and unnerving. "Stop!" David roared, stepping forward, his demeanor shifting from smug to fiercely protective, a look Michael had never seen before. "You don't know what you're dealing with!" "What is that?" Grace gasped, her eyes wide, flicking between the writhing form and David, confusion flooding her features. The crowd retreated, merging into a writhing mass of fear and uncertainty. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the entity shifted, revealing a face they all recognized, but hadn't expected. It was the woman from before, Michael's long-lost aunt, the one his family had believed dead. Her eyes stared into Michael's with a fiery intensity, a mixture of anger and desperation behind them. "Michael, I've waited too long to explain this," she said, her voice carrying through the noise, steady yet haunting. Michael's mind raced, memories crashing in like waves. The stories of betrayal, the hushed conversations around the dinner table, they all flooded back. "Aunt Clara?" he whispered, disbelief twisting in knots within him. "Yes," she affirmed, her voice now rising above the cacophony. "It's time for the truth." "Why now?" Michael's thoughts tumbled over each other, desperation clinging to his voice. "Why reveal yourself when everything is falling apart?" "Because," she began, her voice trembling but fierce, "the legacy is crumbling, and the only way to protect us is to confront it. Secrets have a way of destroying families, and it is time you learned the full truth." Just as Michael tried to process her words, another shockwave rippled through the ground. From the fissure surged more shadowy figures, his father, his mother, swirling around, all with faces twisted in sadness and regret. The past had come alive, and they were not just there to haunt him. They were there to reveal the truth. "Michael, listen to her!" his mother called out, urgency layered in her voice. "We need to unveil the past. Your future depends on it." The crowd stood frozen, breaths hitched as they watched the shadowy congregation rise before them. Gasps echoed. "What is happening?" someone murmured, fear etched on every face. Michael's heart raced. The truth he'd spent years dodging was now crashing down around him. The revelations he thought buried were clawing their way into the light. "What do you want?" he shouted, but doubt hung in the air. A sudden jolt of energy surged as Clara's shadowy form moved closer. "You must choose, Michael. Keep running from the truth, or stand and fight for your family. The darkness will consume you if you do not face it." Every instinct told him to retreat, but the pull of the past was nearly insurmountable. As more figures emerged, the air thickened with haunting melodies that echoed through the park, blending with the chaos. And just then, Lucas clutched Grace's hand. "Mom, what's happening? I'm scared." In that moment, every hidden fear, every suppressed memory surged back into focus. Every face in the crowd watched, whispers swirling around them like a tempest. The ground shook again, and the figure of Clara loomed larger, her eyes boring into Michael's soul. The weight of decisions bared down on him. Would he step into the shadows of his past, or would he pull Lucas and Grace from the chaos? As the ground split wider and shadows danced, Michael felt the finality of everything hanging in the air. The line was drawn. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. There was no turning back now. Choices would dictate the fate of all. What would he decide, standing on the edge of revelation? The ground shook again, stronger this time. Michael felt it in his bones. Shadows of his family flooded the park, all of them watching him, judging him. Clara stepped closer, urgency painted on her face. "Michael, you need to listen. Everything is at stake." As her words settled in, a thick fog of doubt and fear enveloped them. The fractured earth seemed to pulse with energy, as if it held secrets waiting to explode. Shadowy figures swirled around, shifting, coming forward like a relentless tide. Suddenly, Lucas's scream cut through the chaos. "Dad, look out!" Michael whipped his head around just in time to see a massive hand emerging from the shadows. It grasped at thin air, reaching for him, and he stumbled back, panic clawing at his throat. Then, in an instant, the smoke thickened, swirling faster, and he felt a darkness seeping into his very soul. "Stay back!" Grace shouted, her voice hoarse. She pulled Lucas tightly against her side, every muscle in her frame rigid. Michael felt the heat radiating off her. She was ready to protect them both, ready to fight. But then, from beneath the chaos, a voice boomed. "Enough!" A stunning, luminous figure broke free from the shadows, a beacon cutting through the dark web. It slid forward, light pouring from it like a shattered glass, painting the ground. Everyone halted. The crowd seemed to forget their panic, eyes glued to the figure. It was a woman, ethereal and fierce. With a commanding posture, she gazed at Michael. "You didn't remember me, did you?" she asked, a piercing gaze pinning him in place. "Who are you?" he croaked, recognition flickering, but the pieces felt scattered. "I'm your sister, Michael. Your twin sister." The revelation crashed over him, unraveling everything he thought he knew. His mind raced, memories flooding back, fragmented, jumbled. Shadows of a little girl's laughter he couldn't pin down. Memories buried under the weight of family whispers. "That's not possible," he whispered, his world tipping on its axis. "Yes, it's true." Her tone was solemn. "I've been gone for so long, hidden in shadows, but not by choice. It was your family's decision. They thought I was a liability, and I was. I watched while you lived in wealth and ignorance. I've waited until the moment was right." Gasps echoed. Jaws dropped. The crowd absorbed the shock, murmurs rippling like water disturbed by stones. The moment pulled tighter, reality shattering like glass. Michael felt the ground beneath him tremble with a thunderous pulse. "Where have you been?" he managed, disbelief and dread intertwined. "In the dark, Michael, in the dark." Her voice broke, shimmering with raw emotion. "And now it's time to reveal the truth. The arrival of shadows is a warning. Our family's dishonor is deeper than you could imagine." The figures around them transformed into a swirling storm. His mother and David faltered, fear etched in their expressions. "I would have never... I never knew," was all Michael could say, confusion clawing at his heart. What did this mean? The past he thought he knew crumbled like dry leaves. "Everything you cherish is in jeopardy. If we don't confront our family's true history, there will be no future for any of us." She reached out, her hand trembling, desperation radiating from her. "Please, Michael, we must stand together." Lucas's small voice broke through, trembling. "Dad, is she telling the truth?" As Michael held his son's gaze, everything twisted, truth and lie melding into a kaleidoscope of horror and clarity. This was more than a family drama. This could tear them all apart. And then, from the depths of the shadows, thunder cracked. The energy shifted. A horrific reality unfolded. Figures materialized, all faces staring at him. A chorus of voices rose, some familiar, some ghostly, weaving a web thick with betrayal and longing. The essence of a family lost echoed around him. Michael's vision blurred. He sensed something deeper lurking, darker threads pulling at the edges of everything he thought was real. The ground beneath them trembled as darkness closed in. "Who are you really?" he yelled, conviction laced with fear. Their past, once an interesting tale, had become a storm. And as shadows threatened to consume them, he realized the truth was staring him down, daring him to confront it. What would happen next? How deep did this darkness run? As the shadows around them twisted and morphed, Michael felt a whirlwind of emotions surge within him. His long-lost sister, the voice from his nightmares, stood before him. A specter returning to claim her place in a story maddeningly unfinished. He looked at Grace, and then at Lucas, whose wide eyes flickered between awe and terror. "A sister?" he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "After all this time." Clara moved closer, her luminescent figure battling the encroaching shadows. "Yes, Michael, I've been hiding, but the darkness won't let us run any longer. We must confront our family's legacy together." Lucas clutched Grace's hand tighter, sensing the unfolding drama. His innocent face mirrored the confusion Michael felt. What could he possibly say to reassure his son through this untangling of their world? "Run!" someone from the crowd shouted, as the ground quaked again. A sense of urgency washed over them. Faces turned pale in sheer panic. "Don't!" Clara said, raising her hands. "We can't escape. If we do, the past will consume us all." The crowd fidgeted, glancing toward the fissure that gaped open like an angry mouth. Michael felt the heat radiating from it, not just from the earth, but from the unfinished business lurking there. Secrets begging to be released. "Then what do we do?" Michael asked, the question a bitter lump in his throat. He needed a plan, a way to save his family. "Speak the truth," Clara urged, her voice steady but urgent. "It is the only way to free us." With a deep breath, Michael turned to the crowd, faces blurred by the chaos. He could not turn back now. "All of you, I've been living in fear of truths my family buried. But it's time we face what has haunted us." The murmurs rose again, rippling through the audience. Unsure and skeptical, they hesitated. But in that moment, he felt a sudden release of energy, a spark. "Grace, this includes you! I believe in your story." Grace stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "I've lived in the shadows too. My past is woven into your family's darkness. I stand ready to face it, not just for me, but your son." The icy grip of fear started to thaw as their voices rose together. Michael felt the warmth of solidarity wrap around them like a blanket. Clara nodded, pride in her eyes. Then, with a deep inhale, Clara called out, "The truth lives within you all. Speak now, and we step towards freedom. Secrets have kept us bound for too long." With the park trembling beneath them, Michael's mind raced. He thought of his family, of all the joy. The laughter turned whispers, the burden of betrayal. "We're more than what's been written. We are a choice, a path forward." His voice echoed, raw with emotion. As if in response, the swirling shadows began to retreat, fading slowly like mist. The crowd gasped, witnessing the chaos unravel, revealing the light, fighting against the dark. "Together!" Lucas shouted, his tiny voice exploding with simple determination. "We're together!" The moment hung pregnant with possibility, hope weaving its way through the crowd. "We choose truth!" Michael yelled, awareness washing over him. "I will not be defined by the shadows." Suddenly, the ground beneath them flashed bright, and the shadows receded completely. The gathering gasped, witnessing the storm within transformed into a tranquil clarity. The fissure closed, sealing the dark past away, but leaving the promise of brighter tomorrows. Clara, now smiling, took a step back. "You've faced your fears, Michael. You've embraced your truth. Protect it fiercely." With tears glistening, Michael turned to Grace, who beamed back at him, eyes glimmering with relief. Together, they faced Lucas, their future. But a lingering question hung in the air. "What happens now?" he asked, half afraid of the answer. The crowd released a collective breath. The storm averted, but uncertainty lurking just beneath the surface. Until that moment, they didn't even know what to fear next. The echoes of their choice poured over them, and excitement bubbled with unease, as if reminding them that the journey was just beginning. Now, dear friends, don't leave this moment behind. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. you don't want to fall behind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let us know you're enjoying the ride. Please flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear your thoughts. And most importantly, don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.